Yeah, her wealthy husband, Edwin Bechstein, was also an enthusiastic supporter of Hitler, and he was not stingy when it came to helping him. Edwin Bechstein regularly gave small monthly sums to Hitler for personal expenses, food, travel expenses, haircuts, also a lot of such small things. These were arranged jointly with his wife, but Edwin handled most of the financial side. After Hitler's release from prison in 1924, we said Hitler had first to go to diet because he had such abundance of strudels and cakes from all the admirers. Yeah, but Hitler had no regular income for several months afterwards. The Bechstein's financial support enabled him, because Hitler had no work officially, and Bechstein's financial support enabled him to continue his political activity without having to take a job, so he could make it full time. The first volume of Mein Kampf appeared in 1925, so 1 year after some month after the release of prison, because he was released in December 1924, so only some month after. Through the Bechsteins, Hitler gained access to people who could help and promote the book Mein Kampf. This was very important, which contributed to its wide availability by the late 1920s. At that time, the Nazi Party was still short of money, so such meetings brought both financial and political backing. For example, from circles around Borsig, Siemens, and IG Farben, Edwin Bechstein often acted as an intermediary for these contacts. So he helped also to get contacts to such other big companies. Edwin Bechstein personally donated large sums, including 45,000 mark loan that enabled Hitler to purchase two luxury Mercedes cars. According to an anecdote from around 1928, when Edwin and Helene Bechstein gave Hitler a new elegant black Mercedes Benz as a gift, Edwin jokingly remarked, "One day you will drive not only this car, but all of Germany." This half-joking statement illustrates how strongly Edwin Bechstein believed in Hitler's mission, long before the Nazi leader actually came to power. The gesture was not merely support, but a symbolic enthronement. It is impossible to determine now exactly how much money the Bechstein family donated to Hitler, since much of it was paid like without receipts. Yeah, we have no documentation. We have financial donations from 1921 onwards. Yeah, we can say up to 1923 there were first donation. There were personal money. We can estimate up to 20,000 gold marks, what is equivalent to many tens of thousands of euros today. Yeah, many tens of thousands of euros. The exact figures are not documented for every case, but we have all the information according, for example, to Ernst Hanfstaengl, one of Hitler's former confidants, who said the Bechsteins financed Hitler when no one else would have. When we have a lot of non-monetary support in kind of contribution, sweets, like clothing, sweets, tailcoats, as I said, the haircut and so on. Helene Bechstein personally financed Hitler's wardrobe. Social introduction. The Bechstein couple introduced Hitler to aristocratic and snobbish circles in Berlin. Yeah, and we have the car story. The car around 1923, Hitler received the Mercedes Benz, paid by the Bechstein. It was the latest model luxury Mercedes-Benz. Then we have the travel expenses. They covered several of Hitler's trips, also trips to Berlin. Bechstein played a unique, really unique role. Major role. She would caress Hitler as if he were a little boy and affectionately called him always my little Wolf. Wolfer, being one of Hitler's nicknames. Even later, she could still criticize or even command him as an elderly woman, and he remained obedient. So we know it from people who said it. So this is not documented like they said he was obedient like a schoolboy. She often said she wished he were her son. According to some recollections, Bechstein tried to educate Hitler, recommending books and classical music to him, as she felt he lacked the cultural refinement expected in Berlin's elite circles. When Hitler appeared in a Berlin aristocratic salon to which the Bechstein had taken him, he felt sometimes embarrassed because he didn't have the right clothing and not the right manners. According to the story, Edwin Bechstein once took him aside and said to his wife, Helene, that coat can't be tolerated any longer. Tomorrow morning we are going to the tailor. You see, like Hitler, like a schoolboy with an old coat there, and they had to dress him. This episode vividly illustrates how Edwin Bechstein personally took part in shaping Hitler's outward appearance and image. At the time, Hitler had no proper wardrobe and was completely underdressed. Really underdressed for Berlin elite salons. The appearance is important, as today on Instagram you see, so you had to do it back then with a nice coat, being well dressed for the snobbish circles. The Bechsteins made sure that this appearance matched the expectations of a political career like chancellor. According to some notes, Edwin Bechstein once remarked about Hitler at a piano factory event. He can't play the piano and he doesn't always understand music, but he talks about music, as if Liszt and Wagner lived inside his head. Like he also made jokes about Hitler's really not being a musician. This comment was humorous but revealing. Hitler was indeed less cultivated in classical music than he later pretended, though he spoke passionately about Wagner's works. From the Bechsteins' musical world, they were experts. This was both impressive and, on the other hand, it was ridiculous. Yet Edwin watched the young leader with indulgent affection. After the Nazi seizure of power, Helene Bechstein occasionally criticized also Hitler, but due to their long-standing bond, there were no consequences for her. Hitler's gratitude, sincere respect or calculated courtesy is the question. Hitler also expressed his gratitude with personal gifts and gestures of attention. According to historical sources, Hitler did indeed showed a form of gratitude toward Helene Bechstein, but not in the classical emotional sense of heartfelt thankfulness. Rather, it was a kind of respect mixed with loyalty. A few examples illustrate this. Maintaining the connection. Even after coming to power, Hitler did not sever ties with the Bechstein family. The Bechstein Piano Company continued to thrive during the Third Reich and became one of the favorite supplier of the Nazi elite. There were private gestures. Hitler often visited Helene Bechstein and maintained a friendly relationship with her, at least until the mid-1930s. According to several eyewitnesses, he occasionally sent her flowers and continued to express his appreciation for her early support. But there were an absence of public recognition, that's true. Interesting, however, Bechstein's name was rarely mentioned in the official rhetoric of the Third Reich. Hitler carefully avoided any suggestion that he had risen to power through female influence or social patronage, because he was the man who made everything alone. This indicates that his gratitude, though genuine, to some extent remained limited and confined to the private sphere. When Edwin Bechstein died in 1934 in Berchtesgaden, where he owned a villa called Bechstein not far from the Obersalzberg, his body was transported to Berlin. He was buried after a state funeral attended by Adolf Hitler and several NSDAP politicians, including Wilhelm and Max Amann. In 1935, Helene Bechstein provided Hitler with the Villa Bechstein in Obersalzberg. The Nazis maintained the property as a guest house, which was usually occupied by the family of Joseph Goebbels whenever he stayed at the Obersalzberg. After the war ended, Helene returned to Berchtesgaden, where she died in 1951. Hitler never completely denied the help he had received from the Bechstein family, but at the height of his political career, as I said, he no longer commemorated it publicly. This clearly shows how, for him, gratitude and political calculation often blended together. It is also true that Hitler had to be cautious about appearances. The left wing of the Nazi movement around Röhm and Strasser openly criticized him even as late as 1933 for being the man of big capital and for betraying the true Nazi revolution of the little guy on the streets, of the worker. We know that by 1934 came the Röhm putsch. Röhm was murdered and all guys around all the left wing of the Nazi Party. But even afterwards, Hitler had to ensure that he did not appear to be the puppet of wealthy industrialists. Because he didn't want to lose the base of the German workers. For this reason, official Nazi propaganda preferred to remain silent about the fact that Hitler had once depended on the financial backing of affluent bourgeois supporters, particularly women as Helene Bechstein. Many historians, especially in the second half of 20th century, focused primarily on political and military key figures. The role of women, particularly that of patrons and salon hostesses, was underestimated or treated merely as emotional background music rather than as genuine political force. Only in recent decades have studies begun to emerge that interpret women like Helene Bechstein as active promoters to the regime, not merely as admirers or bystanders. We are at the end. Enough is enough, my dear friends. And thank you very much and have a good time.